Hello, hello. It is Tuesday night with the People's Pride Project, and you know what that means. We're on the couch. We're having couch conversations. Yeah, I'm a little giddy today, but that's okay. You want to know why? Because I got one of my favorite people here. She don't know she's one of my favorite people, and I'm gonna take a second. I'm gonna take a second when I put her on screen because I'm gonna love on her for a second because I have yet to do this to your face. Tonight's guest is the one and only Roz the Diva Mays. I'm not even going to give a big introduction because she's everything. Like I said, athlete, pioneer, fitness guru, body positivity leader. This is the woman. Hey, hey, how you doing?
Sheena, after that intro, I'm feeling great, actually, is what I'm doing.
You should be, because let me tell you, like I said, I never told you to see your face before. We met a couple years ago, and I was coming right out of a period where my life had like imploded, like shit. And I'm like, it gave me this whole thing, we have no time, do what you want, live like you want, that whole. And I started looking to like branch out into myself and do these other things. And I'm like, I'm a pole dance because it's cool and I want to do it. So I'm looking around and there was no one that looked like this, that was built like this, that moved like this, until I saw you. I saw you and I was like, that one right there. Like, that is when it clicked for me. I went and I sat in the back of one of the Dangerous Curves competitions. When you guys were at St. Mark's, I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
yeah, I was like in the corner, like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Oh,
When I tell
yes.
you, my little introvert heart, like, had a whole Grinch moment and like grew 3 sizes. I was like, this is where I need to be. So, so that's when I started searching you out and we started doing like the Zoom classes and things like that. And I went to Body and Pole a couple times. But when I
Mm-hmm.
saw you, your energy, your presence, just seeing you out there, you can't help but be one of the people that fall in love with you. Like, it means so much. And this is having like a stupid fangirl moment, but truly, just you existing in the way that you do, it matters so fucking much.
Listen, I have time for shit. Sheena. Um, you know what was crazy? You know what I've seen after, like, during this whole pandemic and now,
Mhm.
moving into different phases of my career is that there was a lot of things that I was preparing for,
Mhm.
but I had no idea how I was going to use them or why I was preparing for it. I just kind of did it. One of
Mhm.
those things was working with you on Zoom way before anybody was doing shit on Zoom.
Mhm.
And um and I remember when you're like, "Hey, do you do stuff?" I'm like, "Yeah." And I I wasn't a baby trainer, but I probably wasn't as like super confident as I am now.
Mhm.
And we would do stuff on, I was like, I hope I can help her. I hope I can do this. Like, I didn't want to let you down. And so I had no one had an idea that fast forward a couple of years later, you were practice for me now shifting my entire business online for nearly 2 years. And now, before, like when I was first with you, I was terrified of
Mhm.
coaching people online. But now, um, I had to learn real quick not to be terrified of that. And, it is different. So you're definitely one, like working with you holds a specific place for me. Like I didn't expect to have to do this now for my whole career, but I'm glad that I at least had that start with you because now I'm like, okay, I can kind of figure this out from here. And with all the crazy ass projects that I've done, they only make sense because people like you are out here supporting me.
Oh,
And Team Diva this is truly like a group effort. This is a team effort. I can't do this by myself. If it was just me yelling at myself to do squats and the pole, there would be no rent money coming in. I would just be the crazy lady screaming to herself. So like the rest of New York City. But when I have you and everybody else, the comments, the likes, the shares, the roll to class, sign up for privates, that that makes a direct and tangible impact to me. And so, besides you, Sheena, thank you to everybody who's watching this, because even you watching this, that engagement, every little thing matters. And I am so lucky and I'm so thankful that I've got a big old squad ready to burn the system down with me.
absolutely. Absolutely. And it's always, I know it feels and it can feel very lonely, like when it's like it's just me and I'm the only one that's has something to say and I've got this voice and I want to. You are so far from alone. Like, don't even question it.
Yeah,
And I saw that you made some new friends within your fitness sphere lately as
I
well.
did. I
For
did.
real. Talk about it.
So I am I'm a groupie right now with Fitbit. And I say groupie because I have not signed other contracts yet. So I don't want to get ahead of myself, but my goal is to work with Fitbit for a long-term project. So what I've done, I got started with Fitbit. Um, the internet is a wild place. For all the terrible things about social media, which
Mhm.
it is fairly terrible, occasionally some cool shit comes out of it. And one of the cool things that came out of it was somebody from Will Smith's camp
Mhm.
contacted me. For anybody who's familiar, Will Smith did this whole thing, just like the rest of us. Pandemic just wrecked his body. He was just out here just fucking around and he didn't feel good about himself. So he started this whole campaign, Best Shape of My Life. Um, and he partnered with Fitbit. And part of his Fitbit partnership was him and the squad selected 6 trainers to
Mhm.
each create a video for Fitbit's platform. And it was the Strong Will collection of videos. So it was me and 5 other people. And we wrote our own curriculum. It's about a 15-minute video. I focused on push-ups because those are fairly terrible, but I made them a lot less terrible than what they have to be.
Mhm.
And that so I got to go to LA and film something that wasn't on my phone and to wear a real microphone and to have people professionally edit a video,
Mhm.
which I'd had before, but this hit differently. I didn't get to meet Will. Hopefully that'll happen sooner than later. But so I've been working with Fitbit. That video came out in October, and this month, actually in February 2022, I've been working with them on their Black History Month campaign.
Okay.
So that means I have two. I'm one of the trainers that's featured in their Fitbit Premium app for some workouts that I led. And I have to tell you, and again, I was fortunate. I went to LA to go film the workouts. And one thing which was so super dope is my backup dancers in the workouts. They were these like super buff, super nice, like slender, like whatever you think a black athlete looks like, black male
Mhm.
athlete. They were it. And if you put me as the juxtaposition, a plus size athlete, a woman athlete, and also I just don't shut up ever. Which I'm not saying in a bad way. I'm just that is a fact. Is that this mouth could run.
Mhm.
And so the fact that I was in the position of leadership and I had dudes following me and I had slender, like super buff, lean, I should say, not slender. I had lean dudes following me. It was not lost on me how big of a deal that was.
That is.
And so right now, I'm hoping to continue working with them. I don't know anything right now. Um, but I would like to continue working. And they like me, so that's fun.
Mhm.
So yeah, so that's what I've been up to lately with fitness friends, and also shout out to anybody in New York. BK, stand up, spread love. It's the Brooklyn way.
Hey,
That's where I'm based out of, and I am teaching pole dancing classes. I teach 2 classes a week, and I also do a lot of personal training on Zoom. And then I also meet with clients at a regular meathead gym once a week. So I'm a hybrid. I have a hybrid schedule like
mhm.
everybody else now. I spend a good amount of time working from home, but I also get some sanity and I get to see other humans out in the world in the gym. So that's a little catch up what we're up to right now.
Absolutely. It's like now that we've got all of that stuff out the way, let's talk for real.
Yeah.
So I know in a lot of spaces you're known for being an advocate, for lack of a better word, of like body positivity and fitness for all sizes and shapes. And did that start out as an intentional thing, or was it just like I'm showing up as me and they're kind of putting these things on top of me?
That is such an awesome question. So, when I first started teaching, I've been teaching now in fitness for 11 years. Actually, next week is my 11-year anniversary. So, it's been a minute. It's been a minute now. And it's nothing, I did not set out to have a target market
Mhm.
or a target clients of plus size women. But because that's what I identified as, birds of a feather 100% flock together,
Mhm.
especially when there's not that many birds that look like you. So I didn't set out to specialize in working with plus size clients, but that's quite frankly who was coming to my classes, and
Mhm.
that's who was paying me. And I was like, well, this just makes sense. And also, the beauty of working with plus size women, at least at first, was because I didn't have to like do all this crazy research. What's it like to be in a brown body that's larger than average? I didn't, it was an experience that I already had. It was natural to me. And I think this is what kind of separated me from other teachers. I didn't have to go out of my way to think about how do I make this move accessible for a different body type,
Right.
because I was used to going into classes and having to, in some cases, completely rewire
Mhm.
moves and dismantle and then reassemble moves like
Mhm.
from scratch, because I was the only one who looked like me,
Right.
usually in size in a class. So that just kind of that's my first thought. It comes naturally to me. And other people, my clients have said like, this is a breath of fresh air, because finally my body is considered the norm and it's not an addendum that somebody has to go out of their way to figure out. And from there, it branched out to like still the core of my peeps are plus size female identifying people, but I've been so fortunate because the LGBTQ community, people with disabilities, people working through mental health challenges, they've
Mhm.
all trusted me to lead them through the promised land of pole and squats and twerking. And again, I wasn't specifically marketing to any
Mhm.
of those groups. But what I think happens with minority communities is that if you see someone, um, or a group or an entity that's like, well, if they rock with plus size people who are also marginalized, maybe she also doesn't mind working with people who are gay or people
Right.
who identify as queer in some way. Hopefully she'll take us on too. And of course I fucking will. And so that it kind of snowballs from there. So even though I can't directly relate physically to all of my clients, there's some kind of common thread. And usually the common thread is we know what it feels like to be othered.
Yes,
We
that's
know what it feels like to be almost pitied when we work out.
mhm.
And for a lot of my clients, working with me is the first time where they're not like the pity. They're not the total underdog. You're just an athlete. Like
Right.
and end story.
And it's also great to have someone that is willing to rework. And because there's a lot of places and a lot of times in classes, they'll be like, "Oh, are you okay? You can figure it out." And it's like, "Yeah, I guess I'll work on it." Not
Hmm.
sometimes even simple dance classes. I show up, I'm the only girl with tits. Like
Mm,
these things do stuff. They get in the way. I came in here with 3 bras on today. Like that changes how I'm going to move a little bit. And people
totally.
take those things into consideration.
And
So,
it's so funny because that you mentioned boobs, because literally last night I was part of my warm up for teaching my pole classes was us lying face down. And I said, here's a timeout. If the boobs are going to eat your face, push them up, let the chin rest in them, and then lie down. And your spine is so much more comfortable.
it
And there
is.
was only, like, out of a group of 14 people, there was only two or three who kind of needed that.
Mm-hmm.
But those two or three people, it made a world of difference to
Absolutely.
just acknowledge, like, I know your body is different. And that's okay. It's not just that it's okay, but here's how to still rock with the rest of us.
Right. And that, I mean, we know that fitness and working out in and of itself brings a certain level of empowerment. And it is good for mental health. It does provide,
Mm,
chemical releases that better mental health. But when you're in these spaces and you're trying to get the benefits, but you really can't because you feel out of place and you can't let yourself completely show up, it
mm,
hinders what you're trying to acquire by even being there in the first place. So
that
being able to show up in the fullness makes all the difference. And to have a knowledgeable instructor in that fullness brings it to a whole nother layer of itself.
I could not have said that any better. And I think what's also really helpful is that I have the experience as a student of
Mm,
being the only one who looks like me. Like, if you're a minority in this country or really anywhere, you usually don't have to go out of your way to be the only person who looks like you in a situation, or the only person who thinks like you or has the same education as you.
hmm.
This no, we I have my PhD in being young, black, and cute.
Okay.
And but I also know I'm fortunate enough because that hasn't I don't mind being the only one who looks like me in most situations
Hmm.
because I'm so used to it. And I know the extra effort it's going to take, but I'm okay with that. But I know so many people who are not okay with that. And they shouldn't have to be okay, sort of like you have to, at the same time as you're the student, you then have to coach yourself. Then you have to cheerlead for yourself. Then you have to be your financial backer so you can continue doing this. And there's so many roles that you have to play within yourself when you're trying to play catch up. And I'm excited that I can take away one of those roles for people.
Right.
I can give them the professional perspective. I can tell them about their form so they're not trying to guess what would make sense for them. I don't have all the ideas immediately, but I'm not afraid to try.
That
And that I think that's a huge thing. And I have to say, the clients that I work with who are adaptive athletes and those with um, disabilities,
mm-hmm.
the amount of patience that they've had and the amount that they've taught me is mind blowing because I didn't always know how to approach people who had disabilities because I don't have that personal
Right.
reference and I didn't want to offend, but I wanted to help. But they were so wonderful in teaching me how to teach them. And I also know that you've got to give clients a lot of room and a lot of grace before
Yes.
they feel comfortable even teaching you those things. And, and I think that's why, like, the clients that I work with, we rock so well because, Sheena, minus the labels of what you identify as, just the core that you were super patient with me as I figured out how the hell am I going to coach you online? Like, that's the prime example of that partnership and how this is going to work. And it's so important to me as somebody who is the quintessential picked last for every sports team and gym. I know what it's like to get picked. I know the feeling that comes with that. And I know the embarrassment. And I don't want other people to be that embarrassed. That's literally what this whole
Real.
thing comes down to.
That's real.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you mentioned a few minutes ago about the mental health aspect
Mm-hmm.
of exercise, like, holy hell. I think one thing I want to dive into this year is either working with some mental health organizations or just bringing awareness to everyone, but particularly to minority families and communities. Like, let's define what mental
Mm-hmm.
health is. Not even prescribe to people something, but we don't even know what that means because we haven't had the opportunity to slow down from survivorhood to
Okay.
even consider, like, maybe it doesn't have to be this way.
Right.
We just assume it's normal, and I'm so fiercely passionate about
Listen, we're on the same page. I actually on the People's Pride IG this month for Black History Month, I've been dropping like lists of resources.
that.
So I just dropped a whole list of Black um, mental health practitioners or Black mental health resources that people can go to.
Mm-hmm.
So we're on it. But doesn't it seem funny to you? Or not necessarily funny, but that might be why. Black and brown people make up the highest number of athletes, right? Do you think maybe it's because that's our release and the mental welfare or the mental well being? Not just that
Okay,
we're
hold on. I gotta go
physical.
refill my wine glass for that one. Shit. You're gonna have me take out. Also, in case people think that trainers are supposed to be healthy 24/7, this is the end of my bag of wine. You gotta take it out of the box
Yes, you
so
do.
you can get
Yes, you do.
every last drop.
Not even
Okay?
because I do the same thing.
We're almost there. I'm almost ready to answer that question. Hold on, wait.
But no, it's okay. We can. I'll keep it rolling while you're doing that. Well, because while you were speaking, I'm like, well, if we know that physical activity and fitness releases endorphins, gets the serotonin and the dopamine popping and all of this, is that one of the reasons, not just that we excel physically, because, physical specimens, we come naturally, but is that one of the reasons why we fall into these areas of athleticism, whether it's intentionally or unintentionally, like we're there? Is that how we're getting our release versus all of the stress of, especially in America, of being Black in America?
Sheena, that is quite possibly the greatest interview question. I know it's not an interview. That's one of the greatest questions anybody has ever posed to me in the dozens of podcasts and interviews. I have never in my lifetime thought about why, as Jay-Z said, us all we have is sports and entertainment. Why is it? I think you are 3,000% correct in that one of the reasons why there's such a huge Black presence in athletics is because it is a safe release.
Mm-hmm.
It is a way to channel emotions, good, bad, and otherwise. It's a way to do it in a productive way that doesn't hurt others. It doesn't hurt ourselves. It gives us a sense of pride and gives us a sense of accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
And I could not agree with you any more. Quick timeout. My heater sounds like it's from a rent stabilized apartment in Brooklyn. So I apologize if it's hissing or annoying in the back. Okay,
Listen,
good.
one thing about me and one thing about this space, it is a safe space for all.
Yeah,
I don't tone police. You want to cuss, you want to have a drink, you want to I
there
don't
we go.
because I can't tell people to show up authentically for themselves and then be like, well, don't talk like this and don't say that and don't wear.
True.
Listen, say what the fuck you want because that's how you meant it. That's what your spirit told you to say. And you need to say the shit.
Let them know.
That's just
So
how I
thank
feel.
you. And that's why this is a good ass combo so far. So I absolutely think that the Black dominance of athletics um, has such a huge thing to do with we don't have, traditionally and historically, we don't have access to health, physical or mental health outlets.
Mhm.
Um, and even if we did have access, there is a crazy ass stigma
Yes.
about don't be the crazy one who has to take crazy pills and ends up in the loony bin. And, I think everybody has said some sort of degree of joking like that. But the truth
Mhm.
is, what maybe gets joked about as, oh, you're just crazy. It's like, no, this is an actual concern of mine. And I think one of the reasons why Black and Brown communities why we don't get the kind of care that we need is because we don't know we need the care.
That part.
Is because we've been in survival mode since 1619,
Hmm.
and when you're in that fight or flight, and we've stayed in fight, you don't have the liberty of, well, how do I feel about this fight? How is this moving me? How is this affecting me? No,
Absolutely.
you have to survive day to day. And while certainly there have been a huge strides since 1619, particularly for Black Americans, there's still, I think, a lot of that leftover mentality of survival. Every day is survival. The community survives together. But, and so we're good at that. Black people in particular, we are excellent at surviving, but we don't know what it means to thrive.
Hmm.
We see distant examples. Oprah, LeBron, Obama. We see, so we know in theory,
It's like the Negro Mount Rushmore.
okay, throw in MLK and Rosa Parks.
Right.
So we know in theory that we can rise above. We can, be more than our circumstances.
Hmm.
But until we have those examples of thriving on a local level, local as in your personal family
Right.
or the
Every day.
friends, it's really hard. We don't know. I think a lot of people just don't know. You don't have to live this way. You don't have to, I think, with young Black men and boys, you don't have to carry around bravado and anger
Yes.
all the time. And I think a lot of boys and men carry that because they don't know a life otherwise.
Right.
And because that is a survival technique. If I go hard in the paint on this toxic masculinity, at least I'll be here. At
Right.
least I will be alive during this. Because unfortunately, in Black and Brown communities, the other option of you not being alive is real.
It's very real.
It is scarily real. So, and I know for anybody who's watching out there, I know I'm just going a little bit all over the place, but
This is what we
this
do
is,
here. We talking.
I feel I'm really, truly, truly passionate about this mental health stuff. And even stepping away from like the gender divide of it, I think within families,
Hmm.
Lord Jesus, There is trauma that gets passed down from generation to generation to generation. And unfortunately, I've seen it happen in my own family.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen what happens when unhealed trauma, or when trauma goes unhealed
Mm-hmm.
for years and for generations at a time. And unhealed usually just means we ignore it or we don't recognize it for what it is, which
Right.
is trauma, which has major implications for your maturity and your mental health. I've seen what happens when things aren't dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, the generation after that usually has to deal with what happened in the generation before.
Yep.
And so if that generation before does not even acknowledge that there's something not right, and as much as they might try to hide it, as much as they might try to not talk about it and shield the younger generations from it, unfortunately, it does not work.
Because I feel like we've been conditioned that if we bury the pain, we can get past it. And I mean, even when you have a physical wound, that doesn't work. You throw a band-aid on it and it's still dirty, it's gonna fester, you're gonna get gangrene, you're gonna lose a damn limb because you
Ooh,
didn't deal with it. So I think it's really heavy on the survival. This is such a layered topic.
mm-hmm.
We're in constant survival mode. And I feel like the word for 2021, 2022 within the Black and Brown community has been thrive, because we're recognizing that we're creating this shift on all fronts. We're recognizing, yes, we do need mental services in any number of different ways, because we're recognizing that the food is fucking us up.
Yep.
Not having access to sustainable living, affordable housing, these sorts
Ugh.
of things, they create mental traumas. Not being able to trust the people that are supposed to be out there to help you. So you can't ask for help. You can't go to these services that are set up to help because you already know you're going to be typecast, you're going to be discriminated, they're not going
Mm-hmm.
to help you. So you're trying to bury all of this and handle it, and you're losing your shit.
Yeah.
And especially within families, not only is it pervasive because of your living arrangement, and we all know, with especially with the panty that's been on, being in close proximity to a little crazy, everybody start, you know. So it reaches even farther than that, because you have the physical ramifications of what that looks like, not just being in close quarters. Like, I don't know if you saw, I just completed my birth work training. And
Oh.
oh, I'm listen, there's a lot. But one of the things we talked about is how genetics and the act of creation passes on these codes. So in birth, in generational creation, you're already carrying everything that came before you before you even get a chance to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
So now you got all this other stuff once you come out, and it's like, okay, how do I fix this? What are we doing?
I feel like a big, probably the number one reason why I'm so like passionate about talking about this is because I have been in therapy myself
Mm,
for 14 years. And my therapist is Bay. And it's funny because, my therapist is not like me. I think she's around my age. I don't know, but she's this blonde haired, blue eyed woman from South Carolina. Um, so, um, she does not identify with some of the same things that I do, but she has listened to me. She
mm,
has listened to every single word that I've had. But the bigger picture, though, is I want to give a shout out to my sister and I, because we are trying to change the patterns by going to therapy. And a couple of my cousins as well. Having the open conversations that are really hard to have. And acknowledging it's not fine and it's not okay. And you know, I want to acknowledge um personally, my parents, they went above and beyond, over the river, through the woods. They sold their kidneys so my sister and I could have a fabulous childhood, and we did. You know, it wasn't perfect, but nobody's childhood is
Right.
perfect. But I come from a very, very, very loving two-parent family home, and
Mhm.
from a stable home. And if I'm still trying to work through anxiety and at times depression, I can only imagine somebody who didn't have the kind of foundation that I had.
Yep.
Lord Jesus, what they're trying to work through. And if they don't have the support, you know, I'm also extremely privileged. I pay for my therapist in cash, and it is not cheap. She is $200 an hour. I see her twice a month. I would, if I could afford it, I would see her every day. You know, so I want to recognize that there's a huge privilege that I have,
Mhm.
that I've tried to make for myself, to prioritize. You're going to find therapy money. And because it's proved itself to be an investment that's worth a gajillion dollars more than what I've paid. But
We hold that just for a second right
yeah,
there.
yeah.
I think we're starting to, in the midst of making this shift, recognize where our priorities financially need to really lie.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you just said to find, like, the money's around, it's coming in somewhere. But to make that dedicated effort to say, no, this is for me to better myself in this way.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of us, especially with like this explosion of black wealth that's happening,
Mm-hmm.
we have more expendable income, but we don't
Mm-hmm.
always have the financial wherewithal or the financial knowledge to say, let me make sure instead of buying an outfit to make myself feel better, let me go talk to somebody, make myself feel better.
This is my dance. This is my spirit fingers. Okay, I'm so loving this conversation. I've already been on Zoom for about 4 or 5 hours today. I so love this conversation because I it hits home. Like everything you're saying just hits home so much. And for some people it absolutely is a choice. Like you could do this shit. And we know it's no secret. Black and brown communities are typically financially way behind
Hmm.
white America in terms of
Hmm.
accessibility, in terms of basically everything except for rhythm and spice and proper seasoning. Then we could, but um, but even I think what could be a great start is just talking amongst your friends,
Hmm.
acknowledging something sucks. I maybe not understand what sucks. I don't know where the suck comes from, but I'm not happy in the kind of life that I'm living. And what I have seen is that when one person opens up, more often than not,
Hmm.
the floodgates
Yes.
open. When somebody, especially people who are in a position of social power or influence,
Mhm.
when you use your influence for good and you say, by the way, I'm not all the way okay. I don't know what's up, but I just want to let you guys know. Even if it's not publicly everybody jumping on and saying me too, I guarantee there will be at least one or two people out the squad who, whether they say it or not, who needed someone else to say that.
Right.
They needed to hear that out loud. They might not have even recognized that what they're going through is trauma. What they have endured
Mm.
is trauma. Or I don't even want to use the word trauma, but I want to say what they're going through and what they have survived that has had a huge emotional impact on
Right.
them. It's
Right.
impacted how they interact with the world and how they interact with themselves. And I just so wish that there were more places, and there are more places coming,
Mm-hmm.
where especially young Black men and young Black girls and young gender non-conforming people
Yeah.
can have a place where they can start to even look at their experiences and maybe question some of their experiences, and question in the sense of like, let's take a critical eye to this, and maybe this made an impact on me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think anybody of any age can benefit from something like this. But the sooner that this can happen, that we can recognize it's okay to not be okay, people can start making lifelong changes that some people aren't making until they're 50 or 60 years old. You want to make those changes when you're 22.
Right. Yo.
You still have your whole life ahead of you. So you can avoid 30 years of drama, or you
Mm-hmm.
can, but it can be less drama. You can enjoy yourself so much more and enjoy life and go through the world more productive,
Mm-hmm.
more positive, and just more aware of the bullshit.
That's a big one. That's a big one.
It's huge.
And like we were talking about my kids earlier, that's my big thing with them and why I show up with them and for them the way that I do. Because yeah, they might think I'm a little crazy and do whatever, whatever. Oh, that's just
Every
mom.
kid does to their
Right.
parents.
But mom isn't afraid to talk to you. Mom isn't afraid to get overly real with you if necessary. Because I find that they may not want to hear it, but it gives them the permission. And so many of us are looking for permission to be like, I can do that too. Or you know what? I can own my own thoughts, or I can own myself. And yes, sometimes it's hard headed as hell. And I want to be like, listen, you don't run this house. In the back of
But
my mind,
you're
I'm
still a
like,
black
yes,
mom.
right? But in the back of my mind, I'm like, yes, they're individuals and they're proud of it and they know who they are. And this is great. But don't fucking think you can overtalk. Like, there's this whole, there's a lot of nuance involved. But and I see that even in doing this work, when you show up, and that's what makes one of the things that makes you so amazing. When you show up and you show up fully like, fuck it. Then other people are like, yeah, fuck this shit. I'ma do it.
Yes. Yeah, and I think, there's such a huge connection between physical health and mental health.
Yes.
And that's probably why I'm so damn passionate in both, because I've seen how one affects the other and vice versa. And I hadn't thought about this, but now that you said that, it's getting me thinking. I know the impact that fitness and exercise, it has had an extraordinarily positive impact on me,
Mm-hmm.
and or impact, excuse me, on my mental health. And mental health in a few ways. It's one, from a chemical standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
When you work out, anybody that's listening, you might have heard the term endorphins, but not know what the hell that means. So what that means is when you're physically busting your ass, then you've got these chemicals in your body that wake up. And these chemicals are positive.
Mm-hmm.
These chemicals help you process stress. These chemicals help you calm that fight or flight response. And they can help you make logical decisions
Yes.
because you're not panicked all the time. There's this calming element that comes with them. And so that's the science nerdy part
Mm-hmm.
of why fitness is so great for your mental health. But there's also, my pole dancing career and fitness personal training. I have so many new friends of people I would never have met if I didn't go to the gym.
That's true.
Friends to the point like you've been to my parents' house. You have, I've been to your wedding. I've
Mhm.
watched your entire pregnancy, and now your kid is submitting crafts to the science fair, and I'm personally invested in their experiments for the science fair.
Right.
It has also given me, I did not know that I wanted a career in fitness and in leading people, but allegedly the universe was like, bitch, we've been waiting for you. And the benefits that I've gotten are redunks. Even besides the close friendships, during pandemic, there was one of the clients that I had met with almost every day when her roommates got a squat rack for their backyard. I would take the bus to go work out with her, and she would invite me to come over early. She's like, Roz, I know you don't have this equipment. And this is before the gym was okay and when we were still like lockdown. Come to my backyard like an hour early. You work out, and then we'll work out. And then after we work out, if you want to stay for a cocktail, you could stay for a cocktail. And so it's things like that that got me through this pandemic and got me through this extremely stressful time. And I think that's why so much of fitness hits home. And
Mhm.
so many of the clients that I've worked with, they hit home because they're way more than just a source of income. Now they're a source of fucking sanity. And we leaned on each other so much. Um, and I want to give all of my white clients like the biggest hugs because in the summer of 2020, when all of the Black Lives Matter demonstrations and protests were popping off, when the country was confused about do we like Black people or do we not? All of my clients, but my white clients in particular, they gave me the space to be Black and sad. They do
Yes.
not expect, they're like, like I said, I joke usually for clients, I do not drink during the workday. And then after that, it's over. But I would show up with a full ass glass of wine, like at the peak of some of these protests. And my clients who could not identify with me, like physically, as being Black and watching this,
Mhm.
they all gave me space to be Black. They did not get scared when I talked about Black things and why I'm scared and why I am frustrated, why I'm sad, and why I'm like, everyone leave me alone, and I want to shout that out because that's an example of how that mental health and physical health ties together so much. And I also want to shout this out why this is such a team effort. I can't keep myself all the way healthy. I
Mhm.
need my peeps on Team Diva. Go ahead, Sheena.
But even what you're describing, like a lot of times when we think of, oh, I need therapy, and then like one of three things will get in the way. It's either our pride,
Mm-hmm.
either our fear of being vulnerable, or we'll make a financial excuse. So we don't go to the office and sit on the couch and talk to somebody. But what you just said right there about your clients giving you the space to be, that's therapy.
It's amazing.
That's what it is. It may not come with a degree and a fancy title, but even having that outlet and having people around you that give you space to exist in whatever that, without trying to judge, without trying to hold it in. Oh, you'll be all right. Oh, be strong. If another motherfucker says be strong when I'm going through some shit, somebody's catching a case. I can't be strong right now. Let me break down and then I'll build back up later. But right now, let me feel all of this and don't judge me for feeling all of this. So the fact that you had that opening,
Yeah.
that's therapy.
And, another benefit of therapy, or at least acknowledging things,
Mhm.
is, a lot of my clients, have worked through eating disorders, body dysmorphia, anxiety, depression, a whole range of really deep personal things. And because they have had therapy, it doesn't mean that they're cured. It
Mm-hmm.
means that they know how to interact with other people in a way that is going to benefit them, hopefully. And that means when I I don't share things with clients that I'm not comfortable sharing with. If I feel like they're going to question my professionalism or if it's going to impact our relationship somehow, I'll back off. But you can absolutely tell when you're having a conversation with somebody who has been through some sort of mental health experience versus those who haven't. Because even the way that, even besides my clients, my friends, the way that my friends approach conversations, it is obvious when someone has been to therapy, when they haven't. And the way that people communicate,
Mm-hmm.
just as you mentioned, they're not going to tell you, cheer up, buttercup. They're going to say, that sucks, but I'm excited that you're still here. What kind of support do you need?
That empathy. Yeah.
That empathy, and people ask more questions instead of just trying to solve. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't fault people who immediately go to like solve this because I do that shit still.
Yeah.
But it is so basically why I'm saying this is because a secondhand benefit of you addressing your mental health isn't just for you. It affects everybody around you
Yes.
in the best ways possible. And I feel like if we talked about that aspect of opening up, reaching out for assistance, or just acknowledging that maybe we need some existence, the same way it's like, I don't care about a vaccine, but I don't want to kill my 90-year-old grandmother, so I'll get it for her. I wonder if we can use that same mentality of, I might be fine with my drama, but I don't want to put my kids through misery. Let me just go ahead one time, work this shit out here. So they're not talking about this with their therapist in 30 years.
Right. And with what you just said, number one, it's never too late. It's
Never,
never too late.
never.
And number two, like even with my kids, I had to come back. One of my kids, I was talking to her about something, and she was like, "Oh, it's a little late for that." I'm like, "I may be late getting this to you now, but it's still earlier than I got it." So if I can save you that, if I could give you that leg up, you,
Mm.
we're moving ahead.
And Sheena, I want to thank you. I want to thank you so much for what you've given your girls. Now, for everyone watching, I have not met Sheena's daughters. I've seen Sheena in person a few times, but I probably haven't seen you in person in at least 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is not like, I can't definitely say what the girls have and what they don't have, but based on what you're telling me, you are doing your best to maybe break a cycle, if this is a cycle within your family or whatever, of doing better. And even if it's not a cycle, you're just trying to make sure a bad cycle doesn't start.
Right.
And I so am excited and thank you for doing that. My parents, I must say, um they they were always welcoming of my sister and I if we had some drama to share with them or if we weren't sure about something. Even if they maybe didn't know how to fix it immediately, just the fact that I knew that I had somebody that I could go to if I either got arrested, got pregnant, or didn't know what the fuck was going on.
Mhm.
I can still have that. So I don't, and I know that's kind of like parenting 101. Everyone should have it, but we know a lot of people don't have that.
Mhm.
So in case you have not heard it in the last 54 minutes, thank you for being there for your girls. Thank you for showing your vulnerability. Thank you for being imperfect for them. Thank you for giving them permission to figure shit out.
I appreciate it. I really do. because this parenting gig, and it's a gig, it is what it is.
Yep.
You do the best you can with what you got, and even they always say you're not going to really appreciate your parents until you become a parent and you see all the ugly ins and outs.
Mm-hmm.
Growing as a person, growing as a parent, it really has had me reflect on that. You grow up and like, my mom's this, my dad's this. I don't. No, they're people that had their own shit to work out and still try to do the best they could for you. So there's a certain amount of grace that needs to be there. And even now, I see, as I'm being more open with things, I see my mom doing stuff different. Like, me cussing gave her permission to get a little shake and a shimmy. I'm like, okay, mom. So, like you said, healing for yourself, it does have this outreaching effect where other people are kind of like, hey, I'm gonna try some of that, you know. And it's, I know I'm rambling a little bit, but it's all in here.
Bring it. I want it. I want it
Another
all.
reason that some of us don't go to therapy is because the parents feel that they're going to be the blame for everything. It's always your parents' fault. It's always your parents' fault. Nobody wants to hear that. But the fact still remains, nobody's parents knew what the fuck they were doing. And we're really the first generation that has the luxury to heal.
Yes.
So anybody coming before us was like, listen, I just did what I could do to keep you alive.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
it.
Yep.
So there's so much. There's so much
I
into it.
I absolutely agree with that. Something, one of my best friends is a clinical psychologist.
Mhm.
So she's a therapist. I don't know if she specializes in stuff, but I know she went to grad school because I was there for the application process for grad school. And she said something once that I was like, this is the truest shit I've ever heard of. People are doing the best. They're making the best decisions with the tools that they have.
Mhm.
And when you reframe people's actions, not as the fuck are they doing, but if you reframe it as they're probably, even though their actions might be destructive, there's some part of them that thinks that
They're doing the
this
right
is
thing.
how I'm going to survive.
Mhm.
And that's why they're doing it. It allows you to have not just empathy, but allows you to process information and actions in a different way. You
Mhm.
can take out some of the personal beef that you have with people because you see the greater context of what's going on. And I'm not saying that fix or absolves people of any dumb decisions that they make, but it helps you to understand
Yes,
why people make the choices that they make.
absolutely.
And that understanding is how the healing starts.
And to even piggyback off of that, we get caught up in titles a lot of times,
Mm.
and the title holds more weight and creates the facade. Like, back to the way I deal with my children. Listen, I was Sheena before I was mom. I didn't have mom till you showed up. So Sheena still has a path that she has to work. Sheena still has things that she has to figure out and do for that person. So then you try to layer these titles, mom, dad, boss, auntie, whomever, and it's like you're constantly fighting this idea of being me versus being this person that everybody says I'm supposed to be.
Mm.
So I don't have an answer for it, but I think recognizing that mom and Sheena can exist, but they don't have to be the same person all the time,
Hmm.
is another facet of what you were just talking about. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, it does. And recognizing that both mom and Sheena, they have options.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another benefit of getting some sort of mental health guidance or assistance is that I suspect at any time that Mom or Sheena had to make a tough decision, a lot of that was fueled because you felt like you didn't have any other good options. But one thing that therapy can help you do is therapy can show you there are
Mhm.
other options. And there's, it doesn't rule out your option being the best,
Mhm.
but it doesn't hold you hostage to
Yeah.
that one option. And when you're able to hold some accountability and authority, and there's a word that's escaping my mind because of the bagged wine, but when you're able, autonomy, there it is.
Mhm.
When you're able to have autonomy, life changer.
Absolutely.
Then you're not just going along with the flow. You're not just making impulsive decisions because you don't know what else. When
Mhm.
you have autonomy, even if you do make those same decisions that other people will look at you crazy for, now at least you have better reasons
Right.
for making those decisions. And when you understand the root of those decisions, that's how we can make better decisions. An example is like, are you in a fight because you're mad with that person, or are you mad at your situation? And
Mhm.
this person is an easy outlet and an easy target
Yeah.
to let your situational anger thrash because they got you fucked up. And sometimes people do,
Collateral
but
damage.
people absolutely get me fucked up. But is that, but the difference between therapy is assuming everyone has me fucked up
That.
versus, okay, maybe a few people do, but maybe there's something else. Maybe there's a greater force, a force that's greater than myself or greater than that other person, that I'm really holding this anger and this trauma and this sadness. That's really what it is. Anger is a whole lot of sadness. Maybe there is another reason why I'm so quick to fight
Yes.
or quick to cut off or
Mhm.
quick to save or quick, fill in the blank, whatever verb that you do too much. My personal things, I am quick to save and I'm quick to turn my anger inward
Mhm.
instead of making everything into a difficult situation. So that's something that I will forever probably be working on in therapy. And therapy has not fixed me by any means, but I can function at a higher degree because I know I have options in my response to things.
Mhm.
And there's not just, this is the only way you could do things.
That is absolute truth. And with regard to having options, I think we as Black and Brown people need to really recognize the options that we have and expand our idea of options.
Oh my
You
God.
know, not everything has to look one way. Do what you need to do. Listen, I'll be the first. There are resources out there. There are programs out there. If you can't pay out of pocket, there's some low cost stuff out there. There's some free resources out there. It doesn't have to look like what you think it has to look like in order for it to be what you need. If you got to go out in the woods, eat a couple mushrooms, do a little smoke, do what you got to do, that's your version of therapy. There are whole industries built around that version of therapy.
Yeah.
Like, find what works for you. And that's okay. And so many of us try to get pigeonholed, or even if we don't try, we feel like we've been pigeonholed into it can only look this way. I'm not doing it right unless it looks like this. I'm not. That's part of what this whole project is about. It's not about what looks right to everybody else. What works for you? How do you create a life where you don't have to ask permission to show up as yourself? Where you're not bound by what other people will allow you to do or allow you to acquire, or glass ceilings for everything.
Mm.
How do you show up in a life that is so completely yours and do it proudly?
You know, if you wanted to record this and just share with the masses, I wouldn't be mad if you did that. You know, I think um, as as a response to that, I try to think how I've done that. So my career path has been bananas.
Mhm.
Way before I was doing fitness as a full-time career, I worked for the Harlem Children's Zone and some other nonprofits. And my job, I was an internship coordinator for college students. So it was my job to make sure they weren't drunk and naked on the internet doing shit. And I spent years doing that, even though I was like, also don't look for me because I'm pole dancing, but you shouldn't do that,
Right.
but I'm going to do that.
I'm grown.
And, right. And, you know, the bananas thing is, which I think a lot of our generation, that older millennial generation, is, you know, we were taught don't put stupid shit on the internet because somebody's going to find it and then you'll never work anywhere and then you'll shrivel up and die. And, you know, for the last solid like 8 years, that's what I've been doing is putting otherwise stupid shit on the internet. My boobs are 100% on YouTube. I won't tell people where they are, so you can have fun going to find them.
I'm going to show you where they at right there.
But they're totally there. And so I've also talked about drinking on the internet,
Yeah.
and I drop f bombs like no other on the internet. So I've essentially broken those rules. But the reason why it's worked for me is because I stand by what I've said, and because it's not just recklessly
Right.
going out there and being like, "Here's my areola." It is there is an intention behind
Hmm.
what I've done.
Hmm.
There is also, you know, quite honestly, you know, I've been fired from jobs, from more than one job. Some of it was because of pole dancing, and some of it because I was just fucking up. And when people have asked me in but so many words, choose between this naked, drinking, cursing version of you and then the traditional corporate America buttoned up version of you, I went with that naked, drinking, cursing version.
Absolutely.
But it wasn't, but here's the thing people, I don't care if people call me fat and ugly. I don't care if people call me a drunk because I know I'm not. I don't care if people call me like any other like bullshit names. What they can't call me is stupid. What nobody has ever called me on the internet, because I have a lot of internet comments that are not positive. Not once has anybody said she's a bad trainer because of her techniques or
Right.
because of the intellect that she's sharing with other people. So if the worst thing that somebody can call you is a slut, is naked, is cursing, when it comes down to it, don't let them call you stupid. And that's how I have survived myself. And that's why I've been able to be myself because yeah, I might have a nipple out, but I can also tell you all of the major muscle structures around that. And
Mhm.
I can help people be healthier, better versions of themselves at the same time. And that doesn't mean that it was happening all at once. This was an 8 year process, more than that, probably closer to 10-year process of going from hide all your shit online to what's good, fam. Here is the link to my left labia. So I don't want people to get it twisted like this is just one decision I made and it was done. This is over time. But when I made each decision, it was from the best place possible. I knew, you know, I asked myself if somebody is going to question you about this in 10 years or even in 6 months, what you going to do, son? And for a long time, you know, for a while, I was like, oh, I'm not going to put it out there because I don't want to answer that question. And
Mhm.
then you get to a point where you're proud of yourself and you're tired of hiding shit. And you're like, fuck it. I'm gonna choose that naked, cursing, ratchet version of me because I know that version of me is real connected and close
Mm-hmm.
to the traditional version of what you think a professional should be. I still have the same intellect. I still have the same level of professionalism. I still have the same, my credit score doesn't change. Also, shout out to anybody who's listening, either live or otherwise, because that was a whole ass rant that I just did. And that was a very personal rant. And
There
I
was no
know
rant here.
you've been so awesome about letting me jump topics, but I just, there's so many subtopics within the idea of identity and mental health and happiness and how it relates to physicality. I could talk about this shit all damn day. I'm gonna have some chicken fingers in a few minutes, but it's I really do. It matters to me, and as somebody who's kind of come out on the other side,
Mm-hmm.
like the worst thing that's gonna happen, you lose your job. I've lost jobs, multiple jobs because of this. And so I want anybody out there who's listening who thinks that if they're themselves, that's an automatic no. That does not, you might lose some people, but you're going to gain others. And it's real scary. You got to grab your nuts before you put your shit on the internet like that and be your true self. But even through my brokest, darkest, most depressive episodes, not for a nanosecond have I ever regretted just being myself, being my full self.
And that's the beauty in and of itself. It's one thing to be like, I'm just gonna be reckless on the internet because that's what'll get me likes, versus this is my authentic self.
Yeah.
You know, we out here quoting Jay-Z, love me or leave me alone. Like,
Mm,
it is what it is. And it's just that simple. When you show up fully as you, you might piss some people off. But those are
mm-hmm.
people that weren't for you in the first place. Those are the people that were for the representative version of you. You want the people that are for you. And unless you show up as you, they'll never find you.
And this is this is the number one thing that I tell people. So within the fitness industry, I'm black, I'm female, I'm plus size, I have short hair, I'm not conventionally attractive. And so that's like five things that it's like, I've had people tell me to my face multiple times, like, you're never going to get the kind of work that you need or the kind of work you deserve unless you lose weight. And I've had celebrities tell me that. I've had Howard Stern tell me that to my face when I did America's Got Talent. I have had people, randos on the internet, tell me. So this isn't just like a one-time thing. But for every one negative comment that I get, I've probably got about 50,000 people who are like, I've been waiting for you.
Right.
I've been waiting for someone just like you.
Yep.
And I make a conscious effort not to just spend my time clapping back at people who are like, you're full of shit. But I try to invest my energy into the people who are already paying me, who are already showing thank you for being your ratchet ass self, because now I can be my ratchet ass self. And I can show up because I see you have shown up and you've survived your damn self. That informs other people they can also survive themselves. Ooh,
Listen, why
that
do you
was
think
good.
all, yeah, that was beautiful. But why do you think all the nerds and misfits sat at the same lunch table? We
What?
gravitate toward each other because we can understand. So when you show up as a misfit, it's the bat signal to everybody else.
Mm-hmm. And on like a pure capitalist like viewpoint, there's enough people in the fitness and mental health space that are going after the people who are fine, the people that are already slender, the people that are already excited about mental health and doing all the things that come with it, the people that are already super hyped about going to the gym. There's
Mm,
enough trainers doing that. And, but there's not enough trainers who are looking at the people who saying, fuck this shit. And I'm going to figure out a way for you to get here.
right.
And so if you want to keep it extra crispy, it's not the mainstream that is paying my rent. Who is literally paying my rent, paying my cable bill, paying my phone bills? It's all those misfits, which is why we're gonna rock Team Misfit for life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's the cherry on top right there.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
Sheena. I know I've said this, but I really do want to sincerely thank you for not only just letting me go off, but I've done a lot of, with the media press and coverage that I've done, it's usually about size, which I don't get tired talking about that. But this one was different. This one was personal in a new way. And even if one person hears this, and if they think just 10% differently, I
mm,
think we will have done our jobs. And thank you for giving me and everybody else a forum to be our authentic selves.
you're welcome. That's that's the goal. That's
Yes, you smashed that shit. You have smashed that shit.
But thank you. That means a lot, and that's why this space is here. That's why this space is so important because we need to be allowed to just show up,
Hmm.
whatever that means. Just show up.
Yeah, it's like I don't go to church, but it's I can imagine it's asking people, you don't have to sing the hymns, you don't have to know every passage in Revelations. Just sit in the pew for a while, see what happened. When
Hmm.
you feel like singing, you'll sing. And if you
Exactly.
don't want to, you don't have to. But just know there's a spot for you.
Can't even see my hand, but right.
You heard?
Yo, usually I only hold people hostage for an hour. We run over and we could keep going. I would love to
Yeah.
have you back. I would love to if we collaborated on events, something, because this could be amazing. I thank you so much for taking the time, for giving me your energy, for allowing us to share space. Thank you, Madam Diva, for what you
Thank
do,
you.
for who you are. And it means so, so much. So I'm definitely gonna be in touch. I gotta get you your goods.
Yes, because I do dope shit. I need to
You
remind
absolutely do
myself.
dope shit. You
Shit.
deserve shit. What you think? I don't have nobody up on here. You do dope shit. So this has been another fantastic couch conversation
Yeah.
with People's Pride Project. Thank you to my guest tonight, Roz, the diva, worthy of all of that, the diva maze, and I will catch y'all all next week.
Hmm. See you,
Bye.
friend.